guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's TheSketchMonkey here, and I feel like I'm in a bit of a wagon mode right now, or more so mood, I guess. Last video was about the Charger Magnum and what that would look like in 2021. Posted it on my Instagram, got some comments. One of them was this comment right here, which was about turning the Mustang into a wagon, or more specifically, now wagon shooting brake, it is the same thing. It doesn't matter what you say or how you define these two things. Shooting brakes usually is a two-door, so I would say this Mustang that we're gonna do today is going to be a shooting brake Mustang. And here is Rosie, as always, saying hello in every video and also biting me like that because she doesn't like when I talk loudly into her ear. So what we're gonna do in this video is create a modern version of the Mustang shooting brake. They actually did one in 1965, and it was done by Bertone and Giugiaro in Italy. And I don't think that car has ever been located. Nobody knows where it is. But there was one made here in the States. And the last time anybody saw this car, it was sitting at a dealership in Amsterdam, Netherlands. Since then, it's kind of hard to find out where these cool Mustang shooting brakes are located, or if they're even still alive today. So with that said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the GT350 and turn it into a shooting brake. I think it would look very cool because when I look at this right here, the 65 Mustang, even this thing looks cool. It doesn't really look like it's out of place to create a shooting brake from this design, and the reason for that is very simple, because we have the muscle cars in general are already very boxy. So as you can see, we have a lot of straight lines here, and this is of course the typical Mustang shoulder right here, where it dips right behind the front doors. And then they just extended the roofline here and created this box on top of this Mustang. What's specific about this Mustang here, though, is that if you look at the rear here, it almost has a shelf where you can sit on, as it almost has a trunk back here. So it's almost as if they didn't really know how to integrate this part into the rest of the rear end here. So it kind of, instead of just trying to melt it together, what they did was just created a shelf and had the rear window just slam into basically the trunk of the car and still have a bit of trunk left here, as you can see, and that creates this shelf that we have looking at the 65 right here. So I'm not sure how I'm going to translate this into a modern version. It's going to be a lot of experimenting, of course, to come up with that design. But what I love about this car as well is that they kept the wings here. You see the fender wings, they still have the Mustang shape, and that's something I want to keep in the new GT350 as well, because I really like the shoulders on the GT350, specifically in the front. We're not going to work on the front in this video, but if you look at the GT350, it has a very cool little subtle raise right here in the fender, something like this. And these are just details that I love about the car. I think the regular Mustang has it too. I'm pretty sure it does, the S550. But anyway, let's go back to the rear here. Let's have a look at the previous shooting brake, or actually wagon, because it was a four-door I did, and it was this one, the Charger Magnum, in my last video. I had a lot of fun creating a modern type wagon out of this. Thing with this design here is that it's pretty easy to reconstruct a modern version of the 2008 Dodge Magnum. So we have a reference to go from when we designed this car here. And also the major changes really that were going to happen to this car is the rear lights here and also the C-pillar treatment. So have a look at the S550 Mustang now, and let's figure out what exactly needs to happen here to create a shooting brake out of this typical two-door sports car coupe shape. So what we need to do is, of course, extend the roofline all the way back here. Now I think I'm gonna make it into a more sloping than have it be straight like we have on the 65 here. It goes very straight here. What I'm gonna do is just have it be a little bit more sloping like this, like we have on the Charger Magnum as well. That just creates a more sporty look for the car, and I think it's also going to suit this overall style of this modern styling when we have a lot of sloping roof lines like this. So I think it makes sense to just create it here as well, and then of course connect it to the rear right here. And then we need to work on the window. How do we want to connect the window and the C-pillar to this design? I think I'm gonna make this window here, of course, extend the whole thing and then have the same angle on this part right here that connects to the lower part of the window. So basically the same kind of rear shape of the window, but of course it has to be extended so that it fits the rest of the car and the rest of the box that we're gonna add on top of this design. Now look at the Mustang from a rear view here. You can see that it has a very angled rear end. So this is angled this way. So what I want to do is tilt it a little bit this way, maybe not 90 degrees, but just have the whole rear end be more upright, because I think you have that section as upright because this section at the top is going to have this angle that we have right here. I don't want to have two angles going like this. What I want to do, if you look at it from a side, from a profile view on the rear, on the side, I want to have it be like this. So we have where all the graphics and the deck lid sits here, and then when it comes up to the actual part where we're gonna add the box or the shooting brake part, I want to have that be the more angled part, as you can see right here. So going from this into a more vertical line right here, vertical graphics here as well. So I want to tilt everything up and create some more dynamic feeling into this, not just having a continuous slope down there. For the rest of the cars, the thing is, when I do these redesigns, I want it to look like it could actually be a factory car. So I don't want to add too many wings and too many aftermarket things onto the cars, because as I said, I want it to be look like it could be Ford actually producing these redesigns that I'm doing. And it doesn't only go for Ford, of course, it goes for every single redesign that I do. But what I want to change here is put the GT350R wheels on. I think those are so cool looking, very simple. It just symbolizes the feeling of a Mustang. It should just be simplicity. These are simple. I like these as well, but I like the GT350R wheels a lot better than these. So I'm gonna put them on here. But that's gonna be basically the only change that I do, except for, of course, redesigning the entire rear end of the car. Let's jump into the redesign now and let's see how this shooting brake is going to turn out. guys, so here we are. This is my redesign, or design, I guess, because it doesn't really exist since 65, but the design of the Mustang shooting brake. And I have to say, I love the way this turned out. It looks so cool. It doesn't have that wagon feel. It's still more tilted towards a sports car than it is a wagon, but it looks, now it's like a practical sports car that you can take to the track. You have a lot more room here in the back to put all your gear and stuff in. What I was a little bit worried about is how to integrate and how to redesign this rear window here, because I didn't know how I wanted to stretch it back here to fill the space of this new mass that we added to the rear. Another thing that I was working on here and trying to figure out was the integration or the seam between the rear window and the rest of the rear end of the car. And I added this little shelf here, as you can see, a little bit reminiscent from the one from 65, but not as pronounced as this bench right here, but something similar. One of the details that I love about any car design throughout history is the rear deck lid of the Ferrari 458 Speciale, where you have this little shelf that goes into the grille of the car. It's just a beautiful touch that maybe nobody really thinks about. But every time I see it, I just love the shape of that thing, and I wanted to do something similar here, just integrate it on a Mustang, because why not? It looks cool. It looks a little bit more interesting than if I were to just put a flat line like this, or a straight line to connect it to the rest of the body. This gives it a little bit more interest, and you're kind of trying to figure out what's going on here. It just looks cooler than if we were to have a straight line going like that. And also, as I said, I had to tilt the whole rear end upwards, more vertical, in order to have this be vertical right here. So you have the lights now being more vertical, and then we have the angle right here, a very steep angle, because that to me is going to look a lot sportier. It looks beefier as well than if I were to have the same angle going all the way down here, and have the same angle on this part that goes into the deck lid and the graphics here that we have on the stock Mustang. So that needed to be addressed as well, and I think the result is just awesome on the rear end of this car. It looks really good, it looks dynamic, it looks sporty, as I said. It looks like a fun track tool. And of course, last but not least, you have to add the GT350R carbon fiber wheels like that. I love these wheels. I've used them in my other Mustang redesigns, which you can go check in the description below. To me, these are just cleaner than the regular multi-spoke wheels. I like these a lot better, and it just suits this car overall. And I also made them just a tiny bit bigger to fill out the wheelhouses better and make the car look planted. With that said, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in an E30 t-shirt, go and check out my doodle collection down below in my shop. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.